So welcome everybody to Regional Geography. I have just started the recording of the lecture and very warm welcome to the 42 participants at the moment. Really good number. And just let's wait a little bit before starting officially. See if someone else joins us this afternoon. So you are of course free to keep your camera off. And I'm happy to see here some familiar names as well. And also, thank you so much for putting the effort to bring this regional geography to the online format, a format I think that satisfies the general audience here today. And I will be approaching you as a team because this won't be possible. And we have the results of the past days shows that only together we can reach out to our ideas, or we can bring our ideas forward. Now, sharp 12:15, I'm start counting the time based on the structure I planned. So again, almost 50 participants. Welcome everybody to Regional Geography in this winter semester with a focus on Southern Europe. My name is Eduardo Oliveira. I will come to you every Wednesday around at this time until the first week of February, and then a bit later on to the exam day at the end of February. Details will follow during this lecture, and a number of calls of attention I will be making in this first lecture. And the first two lectures are to some extent more general on regional geography, on the structure, and I will bring to you some key message regarding the concepts in regional geography, and then we'll go more in depth towards the southern part of Europe, the one that I hold some expertise, but I won't be able to cover all the territories within Southern Europe, and then I will explain you why I'm doing that. So I will come to you in English. And you may notice some accent. I'm originally from Portugal, and I will also bring the slide telling what kind of work I've been doing in this context, in this regional geography. And everything today is about regional geography, and also about bringing a part of my background to the lectures. Lectures are being recorded and they will be available via my own Google Drive at the moment, eventually all that later on. And if you are not able to come to the live lectures, please watch the lectures later on and follow us together with the slides. So let's kickstart this regional geography. I have to close the participant list, and I apologize in advance if sometimes I look at you directly in the camera, so other times I look at the slides or I look at the chat if something is going on there. And you are free to use the chat anytime you want, and you are also free to bring the questions via voice if this is according to your preferences. And fundamental here, everything is or should be in line with our own preferences. So if something at this stage later on regarding the content, the structure, the organization of the lectures are not aligned with your views or makes you uncomfortable to some extent, just please come to me and then we'll try to reorganize or come to a common ground in this context. Otherwise, this won't be possible. So today's lecture is again a roller coaster, and we'll certainly, or I want you to take some key message with you today. If someone then asks you later this evening in your bus back home, or when you are having a coffee with someone, asks you about, so what have you learned today in regional geography? Then are some 3 or 4 key take-home message that I really want you to keep in mind, and then they are important for the coming lectures. You may find these 2 lectures a bit general, hopefully not boring. I think they are actually quite exciting, and today a bit more text. The coming one on next Wednesday a little more on the maps, still a little general. So we have a bit of teaching strategy, course goals, the learning objectives, the structure, something certainly everybody's looking forward to understand, details on the assessment, and then we will enter a bit more in concrete on regional geography in the generalized perspective. So again, I'm affiliated to the Economic Geography Working Group. Here is some of the links you can consult. I invite you to pay attention to the OLAT group on the regional geography. I like to use OLAT quite a lot. I have been updating it in the past days and will continue updating it, sometimes with content that is related to the lectures, other time some kind of complementary readings or complementary ideas that I think they are important to be shared. So make use of the group, make use of the forum if you want, and I will bring to you the 11 lectures and the examination now pre-scheduled for the 23rd of February, and this is yet to be confirmed by the student coordinator. And here you can write your answers and the mini essay. I will explain this later on in English or in German. All right, that's the same approach I have taken on the teaching of evolution, economic geography, and slightly different in economic geography and sustainability. Here, the course is only in English. So these are the two other modules I have been teaching at the university since last year, and then here the key challenge of this regional geography is that there is no one size fitting all. What I mean with this is that there is no one single book you can take with you and then start reading the concepts and understanding the regional geography of Southern Europe. What you see here today, the content of this lecture and the forthcoming ones, is the result of the compilation of different texts, of different readings, academic articles, edited volumes, and a number of statistics, as the second lecture will bring to you. So this is very challenging and also time consuming to prepare these lectures, but I think that's the way we can have a more rich learning experience within regional geography. And it's not a module about concepts, and so do not expect in the exam being asked, please define regional geography. It's not necessarily the idea. The idea is that you take a take-home message and try to then develop your own thoughts and bring also your background. I'm aware that some of you are in the last one of the last modules of your studies at university, and so it's important that you start construct your own ideas regarding regional geography, the meaning of regional geography, what you can do with regional geography. And you will see that you can do a lot of things in terms of research, in terms of policy making as well, and you can engage with a number of interesting topics. So some housekeeping rules. I'm tracking the time for the 40 minutes first part, and then we'll have 10 minutes break, and then we'll carry on with the second part and plus more 40 minutes. Some key elements here. If at some point on my explanations, if I find that one concept, one topic was not fully explored, or I was not able to convey a clear message, sometimes I have less energy, or just immediately after this module, I have to teach another one. So this kind of overwhelming schedules here as well. I will then record a complementary lecture. I've been doing this since last year. Then I will record a complementary lecture. I will upload it. And then you will be able probably to grasp this concept, this idea, or this approach, this data a little bit in more detail. So I invite you to also to join the discussion during the live lectures, or through the OLAT group, through email if you want as well. And then I invite everybody to collaborate and to bring some challenging questions anytime you feel like contributing. And this is part of my approach, the kind of slide that I bring when someone asks me about my teaching approach, if I want to teach here or there one of another module. I embrace the Jean Piaget theory of constructivism and the pedagogy of John Dewey, which places you, students, at the center of the learning experience. And this is my priority, to really pay attention to your requests and to your thoughts and to your ways of thinking. So that's what we call it is a co-creative interdisciplinary learning experience. So you have different backgrounds, probably you position yourself in the discussions also differently, and this makes the teaching experience very, very enriching to some extent. And the idea of the structure of this module is to touch upon real life problems currently that the geography of Southern Europe, the countries that compose this regional geography of Southern Europe are facing. That's why there's a challenge of, I could have taken a book written in 1998, but most of the data will be clearly outdated. There are a number of challenges. There is sustainability transitions. There are a number of governance arrangements impacting this geography that is important to bring to the discussion when we are talking about regional geography at the end of 2021. Okay, there's a number of aspects that we really have to go beyond the mainstream literature to be able to disentangle them. But what I'm conveying to you, even this take-home message I've been talking about since the beginning, they are social constructed. So I rely on researchers, I rely on colleagues, on those that call themselves regional geographers, but also those doing research on regional studies and a number of disciplines that complement geography, such as planning, such as economics as well. So it's important that we sit down in a relaxed way and then are able to criticize or the concepts or the approach or the data we have in front of us, not only in this module, but also in the others you are engaged with. So bear in mind this social constructivism. So my background influences the words I'm sharing with you, the knowledge I'm conveying here in these lectures. So it's important that, okay, maybe there's other ways to approach this subject. Certainly there are. And then it's important that we all understand these constraints of the learning. I very much rely here on the down part of this diagram, on placing the students at the center, so playing very much with the connectivism and the constructivism. Then here I rely on the online platforms to convey some knowledge, and I invite you already to do the same. And in terms of constructivism here, the key words are that is important that this is a social learning process. You learn because you are embedded in one cultural environment, and then this environment influences the way you perceive certain issues. As a researchers, we try to position ourselves in a more neutral position. We try not to convey so much as normative statements, or we are not policy makers. Some of us, we do contribute to policies or at least provide some recommendations, but that's not our prime role. However, there is always a way of positioning ourselves into the discussion, and I do not shy when I call the attention that if we have a strong positionality in the discussions, we should bring it when we are writing about a specific topic. That's the goal of this diagram here, not necessarily related to geography. The meaning is that of this social constructivism, using the constructivism in the teaching, is important to be in mind our background, how we position ourselves in certain discussions, and trying to embrace different perspectives, trying to embrace diversity, and try to make a balance between different types of positionality, gender, culture, geographical genesis, for example. All of these elements are important. And for example, in the mini essay, I will be asking you as part of the assessment, you are invited to also to place your positionality openly in that essays. You may want to embrace this mini essay through the lenses of the economics. So you position yourself into discussion more from economic point of view. You may want to embrace a more sustainability approach. So you place yourself into the discussion of regional geography through a more environmentalist / sustainability or ecological sustainability approach. You may want to do that from a social point of view. Then you position yourself through the lenses of sociology or social relationships within a geographical context. Hopefully I'm being clear at this moment. And then some of the examples I have here on the roots of regional geography may help you to grasp this a little bit. I just want to check that everything is running smoothly. 50 6 participants, and the recording seems all right. Okay. So let's carry on. So at some point, if you feel overwhelmed by the content of the lectures, they are really sometimes really massive, like the one today, and the time is already running. So I try to make this balance between the theory, also some key concepts, although not this. If I compare to the other courses I've been teaching, this lacks some theoretical conceptualization in regional geography. You have to dive through different disciplines to bring these concepts. There's a lot of practice, a lot of data across different sectors or different domains of the society: tourism, GDP, employment, unemployment, life expectation, etc. So, and I tend to share quite a lot of literature in the OLAT platform, but please, no stress, and stress is not good for our health and well-being. And when comes the time, I'm in February, late January, I will be sharing some key literature for the exam. So please take those references as a part of the general knowledge, sharing important references for your guidance at certain level, but to read them if you can. And then at a later stage, I will share a number of key references that they will be useful for your exam, but a little more further. So when I talk about that, we want to focus, or I want to focus, because I think it's important for you, for your future career, whatever the ideas you have in this regarding, more academic, less academic, more on the policy making, more on the civil, contributing to the civil society. The practice-oriented subjects I want to bring, they related to governance arrangements across the countries composing the southern parts of Europe. Cross-border relationships, quite important. And this implies talking about European integration. And it also implies talking about the social and economic dimensions of these cross-border relationships, because they exist because of they are the result of governance arrangements. There's different planning systems, and they are important if you think about a common European Union, for example, when it comes to transport, to planning transportation, railways, motorways, other forms of transportation. There are research and development initiatives, processes, projects taking place across Southern Europe. And these countries are specialized in different domains. Portugal is specialized in one domain, Spain in another one, and they can complement each other. We'll be exploring what or where this research and development is taking place and in what domain. And of course, we'll touch upon a bit on the sustainability transitions and what these countries are currently doing in this regarding. Part of the background, if you ask, so what I'm doing here, my background is in human geography, not necessarily in regional geography, and I combine concepts from economic geography, such as this one, constructing regional advantage, composed by related variety, the elements that make the regions being able to cooperate, unrelated variety. And in this exercise, focus on the Iberian Peninsula, a region within the overall region of Southern Europe. All right. Is Iberian Peninsula, Portugal, and northern Spain, they are composed of sub-regions. And I focus on northern Portugal. This is wide geography here. And the four sub-regions of the province of Galicia in northern Spain. So I wanted to do a true regional geography study, so understanding regional identity elements, to what extent these regions that are classified or characterized as low-income regions within the European Union, how they can come together and combine their resources, combine their know-how, their tacit and expert knowledge to position so the region can position itself as a unique entity. So this beyond borders, that's the key element here, and one of the take-home message we'll underline later on. So I start understanding, okay, for this to be possible, is necessary some economic renewal, is necessary also some arrangements in terms of social dynamics within these two regions. It's important to secure jobs, to maintain the jobs and avoid migration towards other European countries, it's important to retain the talents in these northern Portugal and Galicia European cross-border region. It's also important that some of the pioneers within regional geography, call mainly those from the French school, call the attention for the sense of belonging, place attachment, this sense of belonging and togetherness, which exists and different studies, so more sociological, touch upon on these elements. There is a common understanding of belonging to this region, Galicia, northern Portugal. There is some common ground which can enhance or strengthen this regional geography of northern Portugal and Galicia. And then what, or to what extent, knowing these elements, knowing the what they can do in terms of research and development, what they are good at, industrial traditions as well, to what extent this can be combined to help to position the region in the globalized competitive arena, so constructing a regional advantage. So here an example of the kind of studies that I have been engaged in the past. So then we reach here a slide more or less at the midpoint of this first part of the lecture, and with the overall goal, and here already the first take-home message, and what is the overall goal of this model regional geography of Southern Europe. I was free to decide about the geography I wanted to bring to this regional geography model. And I select Southern Europe again because I have some knowledge on this territory, and I have specific knowledge on the Iberian Peninsula, primarily in terms of governance and planning systems. That is more related to my background. Some knowledge on the Italian Peninsula, and also the cross-border relationships with the Alpine countries, the Alpine region. Let's start calling it more regions here in this context, and the cross-border relations also across water resources. And we'll be touching upon also elements or governance elements and European integration regarding Greece. And if I find data, up-to-date data and interesting elements for a comparison, because regional geography is essentially about comparing or spatial scales, as I'm pointing out here, or making a comparison throughout time and understanding the elements that impacted this evolution through time. Eventually, we'll touch the geography of the Balkans, but these three, let's call sub-regions, will be the focus of this module. Hopefully, this is not a disappointment to you. As you may understand, won't be possible to cover the entire domain of the Southern Europe, from Turkey to the last corner of the Iberian Peninsula in Portugal. So I will bring to you the knowledge I have on these three sub regions. So the goal is to understand the spatial, the regional differences, the uniqueness, the distinctive elements, what makes Southern Europe a region, what are the elements that characterize it, and what are also the elements that make it a distinctive territory, a distinctive region. We've compared it to Central Europe, we've compared it to Germany, to the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, and also the elements that make it different if we compare it with a Nordic region, let's call it in this way. So, and regional geography is about finding these differences, these uniquenesses and distinctive elements, being them regarding political arrangements, territorial agreements, commercial activities, trades, or more economic activities, part of the economic geography, cultural aspects, and to what extent some cultural aspects also facilitate economic relationships, as I try to disentangle here in this northern Portugal, Galicia sub-region. Okay, studying or doing regional geography is essential about understanding these spatial and temporal relationships and flux of change throughout time. So there are different ways of doing regional geography. You can simply take a time span, the beginning of the century up to now, and understanding the key elements that have been contributing to shape the economics, the politics, the social dimensions of Southern Europe. And certainly you have to talk about world wars, then you have to talk about European integration, then you have to talk about agreements related to climate change and to what extent this impacts, for example, the planning in the coastal areas of Portugal or in the coastal, the Mediterranean coast of Spain. So these are the elements that if you embrace it an evolutionary perspective that you have to bring together to a more generalizing understanding. There are indeed important references. Some of these books are already in the ONLAT platform. I'm not able to recommend one specifically. They cover different subjects. And you may ask again, why Italy, Portugal, Spain, and Greece? Most of these published literature, they touch upon precisely these countries. Some of them, they try to make a comparisons to other regions in Europe, or they also bring the Balkans in the context. And they are very much specialized in specific domains, while some try to focus on the integration of the European Union integration and the politics involving this integration. Others focus more on the democratic elements. Others focus more on the planning systems. To what extent can we advance towards a more unified planning system involving Southern Europe? And others touch upon different regional issues within Southern Europe. And I will be using some of these references throughout the lectures, and trying to complement them with some up-to-date data. So the goals, again, is advancing our understanding in terms of the social cultural construction of the regions of Southern Europe. Okay, this has to do about power relations, understanding how they came to be in terms of regional, if they have a regional identity, and they hold that regional identity on cultural elements or more on political arrangements. And the goal is also to understand better the importance of Southern Europe in the context of the European Union, and then step a little bit forward on what is going on these days in terms of investigating the specificities of Southern Europe in terms of, again, research and development, sustainability transitions, operationalization of the Sustainable Development Goals, for example. And also is important that you also go start your path towards other learning environments or professional environments, and understand what is going on, or what they are planning for this Southern Europe in the next 20, 30, or 50 years ahead of the time. And I'm convinced that here at the end you will be able to grasp the history or the historical developments of regional geography. Maybe some of you are already familiar, if you have a background in human geography, with Alexander van Humboldt or Karl Ritter. Hopefully I will be able to bring some more novelty in terms of the governance, in terms of the role of Southern Europe in the EU, and these distinctive elements of the cross-border relationships, because they are really important in terms of facilitating or contributing to the quality of life and well-being of the populations living there. And ideally, I really hope that you will be able to improve your writing skills and the capacity to narrow down to one specific case. And this is primarily related to this take-home mini essay I'm inviting you to write. So if you follow a more academic or a more practice-oriented career, you will certainly be asked to narrow down your ideas. We tend to come with very general ideas, and here the essence is to narrow down and explore some specific element impacting the organization of a regional geography, being these 2 countries, 3 countries, 4 countries, or a block of countries. And again, I guess you are all familiar with the structure of the course. We'll not spend time on going through this. The data introduction will follow then more general lines of approach, also regional geography in Southern Europe, and then we'll try to be a bit more specific towards the end of the course. This is in your ONLAT platform, and I also on the general email I sent it to you. So make use of the resources that you have available in the ONLAT, and also the recordings of the lectures to refresh ideas, or those that are not able to come at this time to watch later, and share also your ideas. Maybe you have knowledge about one or another paper, academic article, not necessarily academic article, or a book that touch upon elements related to regional geography. Please do share it throughout the resources we have at hand. The OLAT forum, for example, can be a possibility, or just bring it to the coming lecture. And some of the sources that are commonly used when we are doing research involving regional geography, of course, Google Scholar, and the platforms hosted by European Union or European Union related institutions, such as the Joint Research Center. They do a lot of regional geography research, more in terms of the political dimension of the organization of the regions within the European Union. Some important elements also regarding regional cohesion policy. We'll be touching upon that later on in this course. And then I always suggest this to start narrowing down all your ideas or your research to if you can use this kind of search strings by placing the hand or between concepts or between ideas. You will certainly be able to retrieve only very specific and more relevant publications regarding regional geography or any other topic you are exploring. These are some of the prime references used within regional studies. There are a number of them international scholars. Some of them, they are based in Portugal or in Italy or in Spain. And so the call I make here is that when you are doing research in a specific field, regional geography, economic geography, sustainability, I always invite the students to make a balance between more well-known scholars and those working on less represented geographies. It's important that now at the start of the new year, and with a lot of grand societal challenges at the stake in our societies, that we start making a fair or trying to contribute to the more fair and equal world. And this also involves research and respecting the ideas of those positioned again in entities or institutions that are less well ranked in these world ranks of universities, for example, and making also the balance in terms of those that are in a senior position with early career researchers, as they also deserve an opportunity to be engaged in discussions and in discourses related with certain academic topics. So here's some of the references, some of them I cite on these slides, such as John Harrison, a prime reference in regional geography, Ansi Passi as well, and Jamie Peck. These are certainly very important references. And if I focus more on Portugal, those in the beginning are key references to understand the dynamics, the regional dynamics in these territories. A number of journals, as you may understand by the name, they are the key journals in terms of regional geography, and there is a difficult ground to make a distinction between regional studies and regional geography. I could classify most of these articles published in regional studies as part of this new regional geography approach. A number of journals, very interesting journals touching upon or political or economic domains of regional geography, and most of them focus in Europe and others on higher or advanced countries in the global north. And also there are some journals, but they mostly publish in Spanish or in Portuguese or in Italian, and this, I guess, will be more challenging for you to grasp. They do publish some articles in English, which if I find them useful, I will upload onto the platform. Okay, then we have here a couple of minutes before advancing to the second part of the lecture. And here I invite you then to bring your questions if you have. So in terms of examination, I think it's maybe some of you are more some more anxiety to hear about this. So I planned here a 3+1 question. So in my previous course in evolution economic geography, and I'm familiar with some of you of you here on the list. If my memory doesn't fail, I recognize one or two names here. Some of you are also familiar that the exams which I bring, they are composed of 4 questions. And here I decide to do something different and gives you some freedom to start doing it right now. And then if you I know again that some of you are in this is one of your last modules, and I can openly say that you will not find on me any kind of barrier. I'm here, I'm on your side and here to help you to get through and advance in your career, whatever career you decided to follow. So I compose this, and please tell me if this is completely out of mind, and then I should revise all of these examinations. So I plan a 3+1 question, so 3 questions as a classic exam where you sit down, and this will be again online. You write digitally your answers. And ideal 800 words here, 1.5 space, and you can write this in English or in German, that is up to you. And then you convert this as a PDF and you send it back to me, and this will count as a 60% of the exam. And the exam again is planned for the 23rd of February, unless there is some clash with some other exam, between 12 and 14, so 120 minutes. I think commonly exams are about 40-90 minutes at university in Kiel. So here I have scheduled 120 minutes. Of course, you can deliver these 3+1 questions before that, so you are free to do that. And one take-home question, which actually is not a question, is a request, and then you can start it right now. And I think this gives you an advantage. You don't have to hold this stress of 4 questions 100%, but there is this take-home question is a kind of what I call is the a mini essay, 40%. You can also write in German or in English. Then we have to, I've been asked to be open in this regarding, so I'm being open to you as I have been before with the evolution economic geography, and that you have to deliver this mini essay maximum 1,000 words, and I invite you to bring some references. You don't have to list the references at the end, like list last name, first name, title, but you can just embed them in the when you are writing, okay, like Harrison 2021, and so I will be able to more or less grasp what you are talking about. Someone wants to intervene? Yes, would like to say something? No. Some spam here coming. Sometimes happens, right? All right, so the kind of mini say you can start it, think about this topic. You are free to choose a topic as far as related with regional geography and ideal, touching upon one specific issue within Southern Europe. Now I invite you to raise some questions if you have about this examination process, examination scheme. Would like to say something, or is everything clear at your hand? If you don't want to voice out, you can just write it down in the chat. I will then read it out loud. If you have some question later on, just email me. Okay. Okay, so it seems that's everything clear. Again, let me use the remaining. I don't want really to be too sharp here on the time, but I think this works better. We have now 3 minutes before the break, so you can start getting ready. Again, the 3 questions, they of course, there will be an element, there is an element of surprise here, and this will be online, so you know that you can use the resources you have at hand in this context as before. The take-home question or request or mini essay is very much the same. Try to stick to 1,000 words, and you have to submit these on the same day of the exam, and then start from today understanding these take-home methods I've been underlying here, and try to also look a little bit to what you know already about Southern Europe. Maybe you want to explore an aspect of tourism, maybe mass tourism or mass tourism in the context of COVID-19, maybe next steps in terms of climate change. Maybe you are interested in the results of these climate conference in Glasgow, and maybe you want to understand what is going on in Southern Europe, what the southern countries are doing to address climate change. So it's clearly a regional geography topic. So there's a plethora of topics to explore here in this domain, and please use your background to come with this idea, and write the mini essay. You are the number of students registered to in this module is quite large, so I cannot promise one-to-one feedback, but to the moments I can do that feedback. If you want to discuss one idea, you are also free to write me an email and ask me my brief opinion about a specific topic. So I think this 3+1 really gives you a lot of freedom to be creative. That's what I believe, and this may be a more alternative approach in comparison to some other colleagues. I think gives you really ways of being creative and exploring the topics you are more passionate about. Because if you have this engagement with a specific topic, I guess the work or experience also shows me that the work, it becomes always more simplified. Okay. And also part of this invitation is to think beyond the mainstream, to really be creative about a specific concept, and try to explore relationship between certain policies and the power relations that exist. Maybe one of the countries more open to neoliberalize the economic organization, maybe is more engaged with some kind of associations that make it more open to these global patterns. Maybe others still relying very much on their cultural background to secure the development process. So it's important to go a little bit beyond the mainstream, and ideal try to address some of the challenges that you probably have been hearing and learning and studying in other courses, thinking about these grand societies challenge, and to what extent regional geography, a union of countries, or themselves independently through different kind of alliances agreements, can then come together to address one specific regional based challenge. And often these regions, they provide interesting solutions to problems that are considered global. That's one of the take-home message of this general approach to regional geography. The second part will be about defining regional geography, and I'm looking forward to see you in 10 minutes. All right. Okay, so enjoy the break and see you soon. All right, we can then restart here the second part of the lectures, and we have here a number of questions regarding the examination, and I invite now Clevy to say it out loud so that everybody can hear the questions. They are very useful for everybody, and
Yes.
And also those that can watch at home later on. Please.
Okay. I'll yeah, there are three questions. First off, in the take-home question, should we provide references, and how many references should we provide as literature? And should we focus on the four countries, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Greece? Or can we focus on another country or on another specific topic concerning regional geography of Southern Europe in general, or regional geography of a specific country? And the next question is whether on the online exam in February, are you providing us just with 3 questions and that's it, and we should answer all of those 3 questions? Or are you providing us with 5 questions or 4 questions, and we can choose 3 out of these questions? And yeah, I have another question, but that's more, yeah, I can ask you that again later. Or should I ask you that now?
No, then you can. No, so if you want related with, yeah, you can ask later.
Yes, I'll ask later.
Oh, okay. So answers here is that, well, I'm also flexible to change the things as we go, or that make you also more comfortable. Regarding the reference in the take-home essay, no, I'm not asking you to specifically provide a list of references in advance, not at all. I invite you to write the essay and use references to that. Means that you will need to read some literature on regional geography. Then there are ways of doing this. So while you are writing, so if you have one idea and you know how it works, it comes from one publication. So I invite you, and please do it, use the right citation in that text. Okay, final last surname of the author, or if they are more than one, please list them, or if they are more than three, you can write at all, and the date, and then you can embed the hyperlink in that reference. So if this is complex and you don't want to embed the hyperlinks, you can also leave only the reference, but you don't have to provide a list of references in advance to me, and then I'm not requesting you to read 10 or 20 references. So the best essays, certainly the best, those that will get the better grade will be those that provide references embedded in the text. If I'm being clear, that's the way I do here for example, I do that quite a lot. It's not necessarily here the best way of doing the references, but I mean in this style. Okay, I'm writing something here. This comes originally from Harrison 2015 and Passy 2020. So please use something similar to the way I'm doing here in that text. And then if you don't have to list them at the end of that essay. If you do like this, I will be happy, and there is no criteria here of minimizing the grade because of the list. So you are not required to read 10, 20 references, but I'm inviting you, while you are writing this essay, to make use of the references you find appropriate for the topic you are debating in. And then regarding the topic, yeah, then I can also be flexible here, because the most important message that to convey in this model is about regional geography, some understanding of regional geography. And if you are more familiar with other regional geographies rather than Portugal, Spain, Italy, and Greece, please do bring a case study or explore a topic within another geography, not necessarily within Southern Europe. But be reminded, it's important to have a regional geographical component in that essay, and the topic that you are addressing can, for example, be compared, or you can provide a comparison to another region, or maybe that issue happens in that specific framing because is that geography is embedded within a supranational state such as the European Union, or is embedded in a trade agreement. I hope you are understanding me. So you are also free to bring other cases, other countries, rather than the four we will be exploring here, as far as we can grasp, or then I can grasp a regional component of that on that topic. Is this part clear to you all? And Clevy, is this clear to you?
Yes, for me it's clear. Thank you.
Okay. So you are free to choose the topic as far as is with original focus, and also bring other countries, and then okay, you are be creative in this context, and also surprise me in this regarding. So no much some
Okay, so
flexibility in this
we
context.
don't need to talk with you about the topic in beforehand.
It's not compulsory. I don't have a deadline for that, and I will not be tracking that, because then the group of students is quite large, and then I have another module with more 45 students, so it makes this quite complex, at least until the end of the year. So we will have time to think about and write. But if you want to do that, you can do that. You are free to do that.
Okay,
So
thank you.
so to be fair to everybody, I always like to be to there's my aim in life is to live in an equal and fair world. So to be fair to everybody, you are all invited to write me an email with your idea, and I will do my best to reply to you as soon as I can. Regarding the online questions, yes, I was planning only to stick to the 3 questions, but it sounds nice to me, and also yeah. because we have 11 lectures, a lot of topics to be discussed here. I can bring 5 questions, and you will but you only need to answer 3 questions. All right. I will write this on the OLAT group as well. So 5 questions, you choose 3 questions, and but please then answer those 3 questions. And if you want to aim for the full classification, so 5 questions, you choose 3 to answer. Is also that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so the other question.
Yes, I have another question. In terms of fairness, I just wanted to ask you, because I'm also Studierendenvertreter in some organizations of the university, and not all the students have the same laptop or the same. Yes, some have laptops who they use Word, some use Open Office, and when they need to upload a PDF, they need to convert from Word to PDF. And then for some students, this might take longer because of their laptop or their computer. And for some students, this goes really fast. And in terms of fairness, how do you think we could deal with that? I know that on OLAT, we could use the examination mode, and then you can answer in the OLAT window. You can write in the OLAT window, but I don't know if you already know about that.
No, the last time I use only Word or PDF, and then everybody was able to convert as a PDF, which okay, and that this is the first time that someone is touching upon on this element. So let's open this. Let's make this open. So the idea is to say that you send me an email with your answers. Okay. You don't have to upload. Sometimes people have troubles uploading it. The idea is to send me an email. And here the 2 o'clock time is the formal one. So where you have to here the 120 minutes to answer these questions. That I will always give a technical technical time. So this can be 2:15. I can make it until 2:30 for the technical component of the exam.
Okay, yes,
And
that would be great.
Yeah, I only leave the room, the Zoom room. I'm really flexible here, and then I will only leave the room after receiving all the exams of those that I see that are attending the exam. Okay, those that are participating.
Okay, that's great.
And
Thank you.
I only leave the room when I have all that. And if someone is not able to convert as a PDF, just send me in Word and or in a WordPad, other formats as well. This is not a problem. The
Okay, thank
important
you
is
for the
that
clarification. I guess that
is the
makes
content.
all of it easier. Thank you.
Okay, and then I will try also to after maybe later this evening to write these down in the OLAT group so everybody has access to the answers. Okay, thank you for bringing these questions. They are also important, and hopefully everybody is comfortable with them. Okay, so let's carry on, and also no stress here if I have much less stress this year than last year if I'm not able to go through all of these, and probably I won't be able to go through all these reasoning and regional geography. Then the only solution here to don't make the next lecture also so crowded, I will make a complementary lecture. So I will sit here by myself, and I will record the lecture. I will explain the slides I have, and then I will upload it, and it will be this a complementary lecture one explaining the things that I will not be able to explain later today. So let's go for something maybe a bit more exciting, hopefully, on the regional geography and a lot of about history and the people that have been contributing to regional geography since long time ago. And hopefully this will help you to understand what we are talking about when we are talking about regional geography. And Dickinson in the 70s wrote that regional geography is the treatment of a variety of spatial distributed phenomena. So it's about analyzing within a specific geographical context. It calls about a particular area, whether it is a local area, a country, or a continent. That's the challenge of regional geography. We can call a region. We can do a regional geography study if we are involving, for example, rural communities in southern Italy, or coastal communities in the Mediterranean coast of Spain. So we can call that a regional geography. And this is one of the key messages towards the end. So regional geography is about studying a specific, a particular area, but without sticking too strongly or dramatically to physical boundaries, to borders. Is also about, but this is our understanding these days, and these different researchers here, some of them, we can call them pioneers of regional geography, pioneers of human geography, if you will, some maybe entrepreneurs of geographical thinking. They all have contributed to this understanding of regional geography, of this new regional geography, that understanding spatial phenomena beyond physical boundaries. And Dinkinson was one to contribute to it. And then this approach of understanding the social and cultural components of regions within the European context became stronger by some political decisions, for example, from the European Commission that started to recognize regions as this cornerstone for regional and economic development. And the challenge for regional geographies, geographers, is to discover, and then I put this challenge to your side, is to discover and talk about and write about this distinctiveness, this uniqueness, these differences across geographies, and also trying to understand the process that can bring this different, disparate process of development, for example, into a common understanding. And some of us geographers, we have been developing some kind of measures, qualitative, quantitative, to help in methodological terms grasp regional geography. And regional geography is also about understanding this regional conscientiousness. So this kind of this regional identity of feeling, this feeling of belonging to a certain region helps the definition of regional geography. The challenge is to understand who is behind this consciousness of elaborating a region, understanding this region building process. You are probably aware, as a result of your studies in the past, with the discourse on the global south, global north, very much contested by sociologists, ethnographers as well. Some prefer to address this southern part of the globe as low-income countries, and the northern part advanced countries or advanced societies. So, and when we can call both regional geographies, the regional geography of global south, even within that global south, the regional geography, there are numerous, it's endless regional geographies or sub-regional geographies of Africa, of Latin America, of Southeast Asia, and themselves they also organize in regional blocks, in super state, as a super state entities, for example. So this makes all the regional geography quite complex, and we live or not necessarily we live, we are based, as you are based at Kiel, in the regional geography, quite consolidated, both in terms of borders. You know that around the world there are still a lot of conflicts involving borders, or because of water resources, or because of access to natural resources. We live in the block, in the regional geography, with consolidated borders, and we're with stable regional relationships across the many regional geographies that coexist. So studying regional geography is about exploring economic domains, industrial activity, agricultural potential, tourism potential eventually, but understanding also barriers on these activities, what kind of economic mechanisms or political mechanisms exist that facilitate, for example, a common agricultural policy, or that facilitate the location of industrial activities. It is also these days about addressing climate change, sustainability transitions, contributing to a more equal and diverse world, and it continues to be about describing the physical context. And this is very much these days related with understanding, for example, biodiversity hotspots. So you can do you can study biodiversity within regional geography. So there are a number of biodiversity hotspots around the world. They are located, let's say, in the Indian Ocean. So this is part of can be a part of a regional ecosystem of specific species. So that's one I comment in the beginning, that the plethora of studies within regional geography is really large, and you can explore many different topics, even and without stepping too much outside of regional geography. As far as some kind of description of the regional context, some kind of critic where you understand, okay, this exists specifically in this area because a number of public and private actors, they came together to shape this kind of policies. Tourism is very easy to be tourist in Europe because there are a number of agreements that facilitate the cross-border relationships. It's very easy to have a common currency in Europe because a number of agreements since long time ago paved the way for the situation we have. So there's an evolution, that there's an understanding of structural changes through time. So everything is part of regional geography. And a take-home message related to that regional consciousness and identity I mentioned to the beginning: to do regional geography or to do research, to deliver regional policies. Not everything is about research. I tend to always bring this idea of research, but then I should not neglect the component, the more practical component. Not necessarily that all the research, academic research, is not practical, but I'm also referring to policy making, for example, and that there is no need to respect physical boundaries. That's a question of regional geography. And these pioneers I will be bringing to you in the next slides, they underline precisely that. We can talk about the Pacific Alliance as a regional geography involving a number of countries that they came together to make trade easier among themselves. We have the European Union. You are all certainly familiar with them, maybe less familiar about what is going on in Southern Europe. Let's try to grasp that in one of the lectures at some point, maybe next year, after Christmas, after some relaxing time in our specific regional geographies, I think, exactly, or towards the end of December. Then it's also about talking about these other multiple agreements, not necessarily involving trade, but involving also these days environmental conservation very much. So you can do this regional geography without looking specifically to territorial boundaries. So we don't have to stick to one country. A good study in regional geography involves more than one country. But of course, you also need more time, you need more resources, you need maybe conduct and collect primary data to make a comparison involving different countries. So, for example, if we look at Asian, we can make a regional geography study comparing the governance arrangements in the Asian countries, this association of Southeast Asian countries, and the European Union. Okay, maybe there are the historical roots of the process that led to what we know now as European Union, make it stronger when compared to other blocks. But then we can also do a regional study by comparing if all countries within this block, within this the assemblage of countries, are treated equally in the context of trade. Hypothetically, or we can hypothesize that yes, they are. There is a common understanding. There are a number of agreements, written agreements, that they all have to be respected equally. But maybe there are some kind of other negotiations that led some of the countries being weakly positioned when it comes to decide about some specific measure. I'm just giving abstract examples, but then this can all be supported through some research. So there are different ways of doing regional geography involving these supra state entities such as the European Union, and You can involve one country, more than one country, and you can also involve only the idea of a region. That's what is now characterized as the new regional geography. Let's go still touch upon here some of the roots by Gilbert and Hart. And one, Gilbert here, what I want to underline, he underlines more this evolutionary perspective in which he tells that understanding regional geography is about recognizing, describing, and interpreting these personalities of the regions, what makes the region to be a region. And some of researchers, they characterize this approach as kind of painting artwork, original artwork, where the different colors used, the different landscapes mirrored in this painting enhance these personalities. And these personalities of regions, they are the result of an evolution throughout the time. And Hart, the key message of Hart is that writing in the early 80s is that regions, um, for him, they are subjective artistic tools. So it goes far beyond the political, the social, and the cultural organization. It tries to enhance these uniqueness elements of a region, and this has to do with the it still has to do with the culture and with the nature, the know-how, how certain region is more specialized in handcraft, and harder in for example in extracting natural resources, trying to understand what led these regions to be specialized in what they are these days. So it's all about seeking some specific elements within a regional context and appreciate precisely what these regions have to offer in the world. So that's we always try to and we important to understand this evolution again through time, and understanding this social constructivism of the concepts. And most of the concepts we know, or how we define regional geography, is very much the result, or the result of ways of thinking of specific writers, of specific of researchers that are embedded in a specific context. And here I point Harris and Passy again, and they write clearly about this evolution of regional geography through times. Sometimes this evolution can be grasped through the use of terms such as whole, synthesis, uniqueness, holism, individual, and in other language, other type of words that they have been used again over time to convince geographers and also other experts of the power of the regions in creating somehow unified territory where nature and culture live in the harmony, in harmony, and they are the pillars of that region and the definition of the region. And again, another a couple of more insights on to help to grasp regional geography. Waldridge mentioned that the aim of regional geography is to bring together the different strands of the systematic study. So there was a number of geographies more concerned about systematizing knowledge, while others more concerned in being specific, in seeking specific elements of one geography. And it suggests to combine them in one approach. But the essence is understanding the where of the things. Okay, the geographical context, understanding the where certain aspects of nature and culture are placed, where they exist and why they exist in that context. And all of this about the where of the things is the result of years of evolution in terms of regional thinking, in terms of regional/geographical thinking, and then goes back several centuries ago with one of the first magazines devoted to regional geography by Strabo, Geographic. And the idea, or the prime content of this magazine was about writing about a place, describing that place, and using maps to support this description, to supporting this writing about the place. these days, if you go to those journals I bring to you earlier, regional studies, well, you don't find such a kind of romanticize the approach to regional geography. You find a lot of governance discussions, political issues, not so many maps, and when you find some maps, they are a bit boring, not as colorful all of the as this one, for example. Although now these days we can also approach this kind of artistic way of describing places. This artistic regional geography is very contested. There's some elements that it can be contested, and some of ethnographers, sociologists, they contest these maps, and also regional geographers. There's one specific person that I need to underline further on. So, but this is the basis of the regional geography, mapping out activities in a specific geographical location and coming together with descriptions. We have here a chorographic map that slide is covering, of the Iberian Peninsula in the 17th century. Okay, now the borders are slightly different, much less territory. Indeed, in the upper part of Galicia, some contested borders also between Portugal and Spain, the result of a lot of um, uh, more diplomatic relations than military conflicts, but also some military conflicts. A number of descriptions here in the map, and this is supported through a writing, through a description. This this is regional geography, and how it starts to grasp and to take shape within different schools in Europe and also elsewhere in the world, not only in Europe. And some of these maps, what I show in the next slide, is a bit more evolved, is a chart or a chronogram of something you can also consider regional geography, studying the geography of the Alpine region, for example, where you map not necessarily as in this style, but more as a chart or as a diagram, and you make a description of what you are seeing and the elements that compose this landscape. Is a natural landscape essentially, but then we see here some probably roads, in this reaching out to this village, and then maybe there is some other village here with some also roads. So there's a and a uh, natural and cultural components coming together, and these are part of a regional geography. Pioneers. And I'm quite sure that all of you are familiar with Alexander van Humboldt, Karl Ritter, and their contributions to regional geography. And the aim of these slides, this one and the next ones, is not necessarily not necessarily to for you to memorize specifically their contributions, but to understanding that the way we understand now, the way we make our regional analysis, has been influenced by the different writings, different thoughts throughout the year. So both have contributed to our understanding of regional geography, and they again. What's the beauty of this, in my perspective, is that they both were, or both and the others that I have here, they were really strong in that positionality. Remember the first slide when I mentioned, okay, if you position yourself as a more anti something, I do not want to go much in that road, or if you position yourself as a more a social, with a social point of view, or a more economicist point of view, these Van Humboldt, Karl Ritter, they were able to position themselves in the way they describe the geography. So Humboldt embraced more focus on humanity, interactions with nature, while Karl Ritter embraced more an organic view of the geography. And then here a lady in Chicago that start to embrace a more environmental determinism, in which the culture is essential component, uh, and an essential, a fundamental pillar on the organization of the regional geography. That the culture is an essential element for us to understanding why the where of the things, the essence of regional geography. And Paul Vidal-Tablache in France influenced largely regional human geography generally, and regional geography studies in Europe and elsewhere. distinctive elements. He brought to the discussion this genre of V, the local lifestyles and the importance of these local lifestyles. And he was the one that emphasizing the importance again also of the culture in this evolutionary, this understanding of the how regional geographies evolved through time. And he is the one that introduced possibilism, that is that cultural environment sets certain constraints or limitations to local communities, and then the culture determines or can be used to explain the geographical phenomena or phenomena in the geographical context. And more recently, Dore Massey, in an essential researcher here, an iconic person that helped us to grasp a little bit what regional geography is about in contemporary times. And she was a critic of this of many of these of many of the maps that exist. She contested them by arguing that they are the result of power relations and inequality in accessing to knowledge, for example. So she positioned herself in the regional geographical discussion more from a Marxist point of view, and embracing feminism and cultural elements, geographical elements in their discussions. And there's a lot have been written about a legacy in regional geography. So I try to evolve from Van Humboldt to some more current times, and I can go back here to one of the pioneers in mapping the world, Ortelius, and how all of these evolved from more systematic approach, just making general comments, to a more specific analysis, what I will translate to you and as a take-home message as a regional geography, this capacity of describing in a specific manner a certain geographical phenomenon in a particular area, territorial area. And the interesting element here is, if we go back to the mid of the 19th century, we had the environmental determinism characterizing Paul Vidal de Lablache and other geographers, and one solid and large branch of regional geography that through time, particularly here after the Second World War, then evolved and multiplied in cultural geography. Again, regional geography somehow shrink a little bit because other start concepts or topics or issues that were commonly explored within regional geography start being explored by other disciplines. So there was some of a branching out of regional research, and then some of them start calling it regional science. What is interesting here, in my point of view, everything is valid. All points of view are valid that's my personal opinion, and they all help, in my point of view, to solidify regional geography and how we understand these days. And currently, writing about regional geography, doing research in regional geography is not requires an understanding of different elements influencing the organization of our territories. It means embracing feminist geography, means embracing cultural geography and ethnography as well, requires involving both qualitative and quantitative assessments as well. It also involves understanding the power relations, and that is the essence of the neo-regional geography that since the 19th century has been evolved in different schools, in different geography departments in Europe and North America as well. And the regional geography as left this more picturesque, more romanticized approach from Van Humboldt, Karl Ritter, and many others, to become a more academic subject approach through a less normative standpoint, a more with more objectivism as well. And but still we have different schools of thought within regional geography across Europe. Yet those doing regional geography these days in France, in Germany, in the UK, and in many other parts of the world. What they do, or what we do, we bring together different disciplines. We bring together geography, climatology, urban geography, economic geography, aspects of spatial planning, of sociology. That's all is part, or all these disciplines and their concepts, their theoretical and empirical findings, they help to strengthen a regional geographic approach. And this is essentially, if you remember this slide, just this slide, these two slides before, that happens essentially after the Second World War. And again, this chronology, or the study of the causal relations between geographic phenomena within a particular region, that's start becoming a common ground between regional geography, the historical roots, and the new regional geography. So if you ask me, so what makes this new regional geography I explore further on, is that both they are very concerned, or they become more concerned about understanding the relationships involving disciplines and involving different phenomena as well. So this helps to contribute to the disciplinary identity of the regional geography. And the final take-home message, if the time allows, is essential that in regional geography, the prime goal currently is to understand these interrelationships involving different features, different issues, and understanding is fundamental to understand that one specific issue is not only centralized, probably in southern Italy, for example, is related with something that happens maybe in Central Europe. One of the decisions taken in the European Union certainly influences how a certain aspect is now evolved. For example, rural developments is developing in the Nordic region, and how these then impact what is going on in the Iberian Peninsula. So now regional geography is about exploring these interrelationships. Here, two books that cover a number of subjects, and these are already in your OLAT. They are both concerned, very much focused on the regions, but also focus on these interrelationships involving different aspects of regional geography. Somehow as an agenda, as a take-home message, and we are approaching the final of the lecture, that regional geography is evolved through time. You have witnessed that here today, from Straub to Van Humboldt, Karl Ritter, Dorrit Massey, John Harris, and Hansi Pasi, more current researchers or on regional geography, evolved through different ways of thinking, through the hands of different pioneers, to study this uniqueness, the specificities, the differences as well of a specific geographical location. And I have a number of slides further on that, or I bring them to the next lecture, or then I record a complementary lecture. Any question at the moment? So we have reached the time of to conclude the lecture, and hopefully you have enjoyed this first lecture, and feel free to come back to me via email or use the forum, and I can stay here a couple of minutes before my next module. If someone has questions, and I will keep the recording a little longer to accumulate those questions. So if not, I wish you a good rest of the week, and I hope to see you next Wednesday. All right.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.